This tutorial will give you a brief guide relating to the importance of what a boat book is and what to do with it. What is a boat book? A boat book is the one quick reference for everything important about your boat. Your boat book should be unique to your boat and provide a one-stop location for all things important to you and anyone having to assume control of a particular situation. Our table of contents should, and this is not a requirement, this is just a suggestion, okay? You always want your vessel registration or documentation on the boat. That must be the original, not a copy. It's suggested, obviously, that you have a copy at home, but for the purposes of the Coast Guard, if you get boarded or whatever, you want the original registration or documentation. Common sense says you'd like a copy of the insurance documents in the event that you have an accident or something happens, so that you can contact your insurance carrier or give that information to someone else. A current vessel safety check. The Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Power Squadron both offer free vessel safety checks. The things that might be included in a vessel safety check are those on the left-hand side. You must have a display of your numbers or your certification. You want your documentation relating to that registration. Personal flotation devices, including a throwing device. Visual distress signals if you're going to be operating in an area wider than 2 miles. Fire extinguishers, and the number of fire extinguishers is related to the size of the vessel. If you have a gasoline engine, you want to have proper ventilation. You want to have a backfire flame control system or flame arrestor. You must have a sound-producing device or a bell. You need to have navigation lights, and that would include your anchor light. For vessels above 26 feet, you need pollution placards. You need marine pollution placards. You have to have, if you have a head-on boat, you need to have an approved sanitation device. For vessels 40 feet and above, you need a copy of the navigation rules, which are available online at no charge. A copy of your state or your local requirements. You also need, if you're above 40 feet, you'll need a waste management plan. You can make those up yourself. You can get copies at West Marine. You can go online and find them. It just talks about what you do with your waste. And obviously, the overall condition of your vessel, your electrical systems, your fuel systems, galley and heating. You want to make sure in your engine room that your batteries are covered with something so that in the event of a metal device going down, you don't cause a spark and cause a fire. Your recommended items would be a marine VHF radio, backup bilge pump or whatever, having your fire extinguishers mounted, your anchor and your line. Good suggestion is if you have looking at your anchor and your line, that if it's all chain, you have a section of line at the end, maybe 10 or 20 feet, that is suitable to be able to be cut in the event that there's an emergency. A first aid kit, any type of inland visual distress signals, flags, mirror, whatever it might be. For those vessels that require a capacity certificate, and then just general knowledge of accident reporting, any operations offshore, how to read a chart, fueling, variety of things. You need a checklist for leaving the boat or departing on an outing, etc. These are important for everyone on board, and as you do this, it will become pretty much second nature. For instance, you might want to make sure you're on shore power. If you have a generator that's turned off, if you have a refrigerator on your boat that you leave on with something in it, you might want to make sure that your circuits are on. If it's an LP refrigerator, turn off your LP tank so that you don't accidentally get gas in there. Check your batteries. Check your head. If the refrigerator door is, if it's left on, you might want to make sure the door is shut. If it's left off, then open it up so you don't get mold. Secure your hatches. And again, this whole thing can be done for your boat specifically, and you can just go through on a question and answer type thing, what would I do here, and just write it down. This is an on-the-water checklist that is provided by the United States Coast Guard and the Power Squadron. It will give you ideas for what you need on the water. Okay, so you can go through that very quickly. Very similar to the vessel safety check type things, but there might be other things that you can put on. And again, for your own boat, you can put it on specifically. A self-survey about everything important about your boat. When you purchased your boat, you may have gotten a survey on the boat. That's a great starting point, but your self-survey would go back and include all kinds of different things. In this particular instance, we have the description of the boat. We have the CF number. It's not documented. We have the hull number. We have when a haul out was, what the hours were at the haul out, what type of engines the boat has, serial numbers on the boat engines in case you need to order parts, what type of thermostat was on the boat, what the V-drives are, what water pump impeller is used, the size of the fuel tanks, the size of the water tanks, the size of the holding tank, just all types of information about it. A number and location of through hulls. A through hull is a mushroom-type fitting that goes through the hull of the boat and is secured, and there generally is a ball valve on the inside. From that ball valve, you have hoses that go to anything that would have water. For instance, there could be one for your engines, one for your transmission, for your generators. If you have a head, there might be one to allow water to be pumped into the head, and then another one for water going out, except that if you're in an area that you cannot discharge overboard, obviously that would not come into play. So this is just a description and of where the locations are, so that if you start taking on water, obviously that's the first place that you want to start looking. Waste management plan, we talked about that. Okay, radio channels and emergency radio channels. Wherever you operate, there should be a set of guidelines for your VHF radios on what to do. In the event somebody has to take over your boat, if the skipper begins to say, well, they need to know how the radio works and the various channels. This chart gives you channels that can be used for whatever. Channel 16 is your normal calling, and once you make contact with the vessel you're trying to get a hold of, you need to switch to a working channel, which would be 68, 69, 71, 72, or 78 if it's in your area. There's also the opportunity to talk to other ships that might be in the area to see what they're doing, and then talk to bridges if you need to have a bridge open. Another important thing would be emergency phone numbers. This particular list is for the Delta area, and in the event of an emergency, if you've got a cell phone on board, you know how to get a hold of them. Okay. If you're, for instance, near a marina, you need to know where the marinas are. If there was an emergency, you could call 911, or you could call the local fire department or sheriff. Say, I have an injury on board, we're going to a certain marina. Then you also could call that marina and let them know you're coming in. Environmental information. You would want to put anything that you have in your boat book to talk about environmental information. Okay, here's an example of a clean boating from the Dockwalker program in California. It will give you tips on fueling, on boat cleaning, on all types of stuff. This is the front side. This is the back side. There's a number for cleanup that you can contact the authorities. Speed curve and destination fuel times. That's important just because you need to know what your boat consumes fuel-wise. If you're planning a trip, how fast do I want to go? How much fuel is going to take me? If I'm going to run out, where am I going to stop on that particular trip? So for this particular vessel at 1,000 RPM, they're going to do 5 knots. They're going to consume about 3 gallons an hour. At 2,000, they'll do 11 knots and consume about 13 gallons. That's on a trip from the home port to the Power Squadron training facility. It takes them about an hour. At 2,500, they're going to go 15 knots, but curiously enough, they're going to use the same amount of fuel and have a shorter time. Therefore, if somebody wants to just cruise for the day calmly, they're going to go to 2,000. If they need to get home or get out, they're going to go at 2,500, but they're going to use the same amount of fuel. Log information. Your log information is going to give you information that you could go back and retrace. For instance, on this particular vessel in 2014, they changed the oils, they cleaned the bilges, they did an RR on the shower pump and stuff. So it gives you a reference as to what was done when. And you can put any other pertinent information in that is determined by the skipper to be important so that we have. Thank you very much.